Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have another Black Library review for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Warhammer 40,000 novel Spear of the Emperor by Dembski-Bowden, and if you've picked up the audiobook version, it is read by Kelly Hotten. So, setting the scene for the book, let's start off here. So the book sets the scene of Amadeus Caius Incarius, a brother of the Mentor Legion Space Marine chapter. He's been commanded to cross the Great Rift that splits the galaxy in two and assess the Empress Spear's war readiness. However, in doing so, he's drawn into the chaotic plight of the depleted Crusades on the Imperium's frontier on the other side of the Rift. And sort of gets a look at exactly how terrible things are, not with the light of the Imperium to shine down upon them. The scattered world of Elara's Vale Nebula were once protected by a bunch of Space Marine chapters, now depleted to barely a handful of warriors from just 2 chapters, not the 3 that originally protected the area. The book, for the most part, really focuses on the human characters in service to Amadeus. He is, for sure, one of the main characters, but we definitely look at his sort of viewpoints from one of his particular chapter thralls that follows him and sort of takes on everything he sees. Now, the categorization of this book is obviously war. As with most Warhammer 40,000 novels, war is, I guess, the central sort of thing happening within this book. We look at that war from very different aspects throughout the entirety of the book. We look at sort of the planning phase or the engagements, the parts of the war, both before and after, and the camaraderie, and also we get some actual combat scenes in there as well. However, what I find most interesting about this book in its entirety is the fact that it is a memoir. Throughout the entire book, we are reading everything from a recounted point of view from Anurada, one of the thralls in service to Amadeus. This makes for a really interesting read because at times we know she obviously makes it through in the end, and that's an interesting point of view to have in the story, knowing that the main character we're reading about in these sort of terrible sort of circumstances throughout the book makes it through because she is recounting her tale to us. I find this is interesting because it gives you the certainty, but it also gives you this sort of thought of how did she get out of these particular situations that she finds herself in. Makes it really interesting to be able to keep yourself engaged in a book where you know the end result is this character that you're supposed to care about gets out of whatever it is she's in, but also the book does a really good job at drawing you in to that point of like, well, how did she get? And you're really invested. I think with a memoir as a sort of story like this, it's really hard to draw someone in and make them actually care about the character knowing they survive. And I think this book did a really good job at doing that. The book's purpose. So I think a great part of this book's purpose is giving you insight into how 2 particular Space Marine chapters work. And it does give you a really great insight into how the Mentor Legion Space Marine chapters work, despite there only being a single Mentor Legion Space Marine in the entire book. Yes, this is one of our main characters, Amadeus. However, I think we get a really good look at that whole chapter just by viewing everything through his eyes and through his thrall's eyes. We, of course, also get a really good look at the Empress Spear's Space Marines and their culture and their heritage, just because of, well, they are the one sort of being investigated within this book. We've got, obviously, Amadeus and all his thralls are going there to investigate and sort of learn more about the Empress Spears, their plight, and how they're going in their war on the frontiers. And so, byproductly, when we're having Anurada recount her tale, her memoir to us, we're learning all the things she learned about the Empress Spears. This also, as this sort of point continues on, it gives us a look into the struggle of those fighting on the other side of the Great Rift. We find out the sort of trouble and the struggles that these warriors are having to go through, knowing they're fighting a losing battle on the other side of the Rift against these forces that just are completely and utterly overwhelming them. And so on to the positives of the book, at least the most major positives I feel. And so I think I've expressed this a little bit in already some of the other points we've made, but the book had really strong storytelling, I think, and it showed a lot of emotion when doing this. I think a strong part of this is because it was a memoir. We really felt quite close and quite connected to the main character, Anurada, and throughout the book we really get to just feel everything she's feeling really well. I don't know if there's much more that needs to be explained on this. It draws you in, it keeps you guessing, wanting to know more about her story as the book progresses, and just wanting to learn more. It really draws you into her as a character, which is interesting. In a book about Space Marines, the number one character you care about is this human. And this wouldn't be the first time that I think this strategy of connecting us to a human to learn more about Space Marines and engage more with Space Marines has been done. Some of the first books in the Horus Heresy I think are as good as they are because they're through the points of view of the Remembrances. Characters in those particular books help us see the sort of Great Crusade and the fall of the Space Marines at that point really well. And I think this book sort of takes ideas from that on how that worked so well and gives it to us here in a more modern, obviously 40k setting. And so the main characters of the story. Definitely this story focuses on two particular characters more than any other in the entire book. Anurada, the Helot Secundus, the second most senior Helot in the service of Amadeus Caius Incarius, the Space Marine of the Mentor Legion. These are our two characters throughout the book that we sort of follow the story of the most. We follow Anurada more so than Amadeus, but as we see Amadeus mostly through her own points of view, but he's definitely the one that she is most closely connected to throughout the entirety of the book. Everything she does is worrying about, well, what if my master falls? What if my master is dead? What if he succeeds? What is his plan? She is so closely tied to her master as well. A slave effectively is what she should be. But it's interesting in like how their sort of, I guess, relationship is as characters and how they sort of work. While yes, one is a slave, she is utterly devoted to both Amadeus and the Imperium. And what changes most, I guess, in this story about our main characters more than anything? Well, for certain, their relationship between each other. At the start of the book, it is very much a slave and master, where one is just doing everything the master says to do. This continues on for a little while. However, we find through the book how this relationship sort of changes to much more of a comrade. Maybe not equal comrades, but definitely more you have a service that you provide, we work together and we succeed at together sort of relationship. Maybe not, on the point of friendship, but definitely comrades, much more than master and slave. Their views on the Imperium and how the Imperium works definitely change throughout the entirety of the book as well. Now, this isn't to say probably what a lot of people are thinking it says, but their views on the Imperium and what it is and what it stands for and how it works definitely change throughout the entire book in some really interesting ways. I won't say much more on that because that's definitely something you want to read this book for. So, who would like this book, I guess, is the final question to really answer with this review. And of course, Space Marine fans will of course like this particular book. It gives you a good look into two different Space Marine chapters, as we've stated already in the review. But also, I think a lot of 40k fans, particularly probably more Imperium fans, will like a look at this book just to sort of give them an idea of how the war is going on the other side of the Great Rift for the Imperium. I think it really does a good job at showing like the plight that everyone is in across the other side of the Great Rift. And if you're just looking for that little bit of insight, this is a good book for that. In summary, this is a really compelling and enthralling story that leads us through the changes of multiple characters throughout the book, not just our main cast of characters, but it is done so in a style of story not often done by Black Library authors, I think, in general. As I say that, I do start to remember that Aaron Dembski-Bowden has certainly done a sort of recounted tale, or at least part of a story in a recounted tale style, in Hell's Reach, where we follow Chaplain Grimaldus, which was really good as well. But in general, I think this is a really rare style of story for Games Workshop, they are very much more generally focused around characters and building like the world, and not focusing on like one particular character's story throughout the entirety of a book. But this did it really well. It kept you guessing, kept you wanting to know more, which again, as I've stated previously, is really hard to do when you know the character survives because they're telling you the story. So the fact this managed to really just keep me wanting to know more was a great part of the actual enjoyment I had from listening to this story. It should be said as well, definitely at the end here, that Kelly Hotten did a really good job of bringing these characters to life in the audio book version that I listen to personally. I like to listen to audio while I do my painting and stuff like that. But Kelly Hotten, you did a really fantastic job of bringing the characters to life. You had very distinct voices between your characters as well, which was really enjoyable, and I could clearly tell what I was listening to. Anyway, I really enjoyed this book. I hope if you pick this up, you really enjoy it as well. I'm going to paint a whole Space Marine army now with the Emperor Spears color scheme. That's how much I like this book. Well, thank you all for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, while you're at it, why not come chat more with us on Discord? We've got a link in the description of the video below to our Discord server. You can come chat with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel in various different ways. First of all, to our Patreon members, Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dyna226. Thank you to, as well, our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeot, Chris Wallace, Turriot12, Vinny, and Loch Lorick. And a special thanks to our artist who does all the channel art for us, Lady Witchfox Art, thank you very much. And to our Discord moderator, Xmorphic, you do a fantastic job on Discord for us as well. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. If you'd like to help support on Patreon or YouTube member, or help support the channel in another way, you can do so by following one of the links in the description of the video to Patreon or YouTube members, or go buy some Sinful Gaming merch from our Teespring store, also linked in the video's description. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.